closure with the United States and Canada to July 21st, and what kind of effect that's having on our Northwest Angle resorts. Needle-nose pliers, your jaw spreaders, your measuring board, border closure rule trumps overseas the ability to go back and forth into each other's water. So
today's show is brought to you by Haybale Heights on Devil's Lake. Visit haybaleheights.com for more. By Tasman Lake Lodge in Northwest Saskatchewan. For trophy lake trout northern pike, go to tasmanlake.com. And by Lake of the Woods Tourism. Plan your trip to Lake of the Woods at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. Broadcasting from the Tasman Lake Lodge studios, this is the Finding Fins Fishing Podcast.
How much direction are you getting from the governor?
It generates something like $2.4 billion.
I don't know, maybe you didn't want me to tell the story on the show, but I'm going to tell it anyway.
I knew you were going to go there.
Walleyes relating to deep mud where there's schools of bait fishing.
Now it's time to head up to Lake of the Woods, check in with Joe Henry from Lake of the Woods Tourism. Joe, how's it going?
Hola, Brett. How you doing?
Not bad. Thanks for being on the show. We're getting into that time now where summer's kind of here, and it's been hot, it's been windy. We finally got some rain, got quite a bit of rain actually where we're at here in western Minnesota. But it's that time where all the summer fishing trips are really starting to kick in, unless you're going to Canada, and then everybody's plans are changing. So like we kind of touched on last week, our family had to cancel our trip to Ontario that we've been taking since I was very young. And now we're coming to Lake of the Woods. It's official. We booked up at Lake of the Woods this summer, Joe.
Awesome. Well, I'll tell you this much, a couple of things. So number one, I can tell you that fishing has been really, really, really good on Lake of the Woods. And, it's cool because people are getting their eater fish, plenty of eaters for the fry pan and stuff, and to take some home. But they're also getting a lot of bigger fish. And they're getting, when I say bigger fish, we have that slot limit on Lake of the Woods. It's 19 and a half to 28 inches you must release. That produces sustainability of our walleye fishery. And then you can keep one over 28. So there's a lot of big fish that are getting released. And all that's just fun. It's good. They're good picture fish. It adds a lot of enjoyment to your trip. And, the fact that you're coming up on a family deal, I just think it's fantastic. You're going to catch fish. You're going to have fun. It's a beautiful time to be up there. The other thing I'll tell you is that normally, it might be a little more difficult to get into some of these resorts, but right now, because of COVID, some groups have canceled. Some company groups have had layoffs and everything else, so they've canceled. And there's openings, put it that way. If you want to go to Lake of the Woods this summer, there's openings for you, even on short notice.
So we're planning to go up. I think it's kind of just after that third week in July, right in there. If somebody came up to you and said, Joe, I'm planning to come up to Lake of the Woods the back half of July, what would you tell them to bring, and what would you tell them to expect for the type of fishing up there?
Fillet knife, an appetite, and the attitude to have fun. Honestly, that time of year the water's warmer, so you can actually be catching walleyes 3 different ways. Some people will still be jigging. However, in that warmer water, I prefer a couple of different methods. One of them is pulling crawler harnesses or spinners. That is so effective come late July. The water is warmer, those fish are active. You get that blade spinning, you get the flash, the vibration, you can cover water, and those fish are aggressive. Secondly, end of July is when the trolling bite starts kicking in for crankbaits. So you can go out on no man's land on Big Traverse Bay, and as you know, Big Traverse Bay is a big part of Lake of the Woods, and that is literally 30 miles by 25 miles, 30 miles north-south, 25 miles east-west, big water. But out there's so much open water, it's just flat mud. So you'll get out there and it's 30, 32, 34. It goes as deep as 37 feet of water. And just no man's land, right? But it's full of life. It's like a huge aquarium full of different kind of bait and, of course, hundreds of thousands of walleyes. So when you're trolling, you'll have your depth finder on. And it'll almost be like simulation mode when you go to the sporting goods store, where you'll see clouds of bait fish. You'll see stuff coming out of the mud. Then you'll see hook. And those hooks, of course, are walleyes. And it is so much fun trolling through those fish and trying to figure them out. How fast do they want it? Do they want that lure right in front of them, hit them in the head? Do they want it hitting the mud a little bit? Do they want it above it so they got to go chase? What colors do they want? How fast do they want it? Do they want it slow, or do they want it screaming through so they got to do the reaction bite? All that is what you have to look forward to. You are going to have a blast.
When you talk about fishing in a little bit deeper water, sometimes as that water warms up, those walleyes get a little bit deeper. And when you get into that 30-foot range, you got to be a little bit careful when you're handling and bringing some of those fish up. What do you recommend for people as far as, fishing a little bit deeper or handling and releasing fish, Joe?
I think in general, whether you're going to release fish because there's a slot limit on a certain lake, and as you know, our rivers and lakes, certainly throughout Minnesota, have a lot of regulations on each individual body of water nowadays. So there is some releasing that takes place, which preserves sustainability. So whether you're doing it because of a slot or doing it because of conservation measures, you just want to release fish, it's important to take good care of them. And here's what I would say. First off, plan ahead. So when I say plan ahead, make sure that you have your needle nose pliers, your jaw spreaders, your measuring board, and your camera all ready to roll already. And then when you get that fish out of the water, when you scoop it up, don't be wasting time. Get that fish out of the net. Know how to handle a fish. When it comes to a walleye, you don't never want to touch the eyes of a fish, and you never want to touch the red gills. But what you can do is if you slide your fingers, just 2 or 3 fingers, on the outside of those red gills, but inside that gill, there's that hard cartilage. And you can slide your fingers up kind of into the mouth of that walleye, into that hard cartilage. And that gives you a good firm holding point that will not hold that walleye. You're not bending the gill back. You're not touching the red gills. And then you got control of that fish. And then what you can do is you can pop that hook out. You can control that fish. You can get a picture. You can put it on the measuring stick. You really can control that fish nicely. Of course, what you want to do is have your things ready so that you can get that fish in, measure it, get a picture, get that fish back in the water. Now, when you put that fish back in the water, a lot of people think you should go forward and back with it. And actually, that can actually drown a fish. Mm-hmm. So what you want to do is get that fish upright in the water, nice and stable, and then just kind of go back and forth with it, side by side, back and forth. And just give the fish a little time. Perhaps it's spot hard. Perhaps it's been out of the water just a little bit. Give it a little time to catch its wits about them, and eventually that fish will kick, and it'll go down. Just give it a little bit of time, I should say, too, with different kind of fish, Brett, like pike. Pike, on bigger pike, you can certainly grab them the same way in that cartilage. You got to be careful. They got a lot of teeth, and sharp gills.
I just like to thumb them like a bass myself.
Yeah, you better tell people that you're just kidding, because we actually have had.
Oh no.
We had some Coast Guard guys come up, really good guys, but they were from the south and they never caught pike before.
Oh boy.
So at night when they were done working, they caught some nice pike off the dock, and guess what he did?
Oh no.
He was in the hospital that night getting stitched up.
Oh yeah.
Tendon.
Ooh,
you don't grab fish with teeth in the mouth. You certainly have to grab those the way, obviously. But nonetheless, I think with pike and things, just be careful that when you grab them, don't grab them in the eyes, and don't be rubbing all that slime off them. That slime protects them. Try to get them in and out of the net as well and put them back. But just a few basics like that, Brett, and I think that those fish overall are going to survive pretty darn good.
You talked recently with KSTP about tourism, is that right?
Yeah. KSTP TV did a Zoom interview with me, and that's airing this week. But really discussing the continued border closure with the United States and Canada to July 21st, and what kind of effect that's having on our Northwest Angle resorts. As most people know, to go to the Northwest Angle, if you're going to drive there, you have to drive through Canada. So consequently, our resorts up there have just been pretty much out of luck. Now, you can travel across Big Lake of the Woods and stay in Minnesota waters to get up there and have an incredible experience up there in the Minnesota side of Lake of the Woods. The problem is that not everybody's fit to do it. Maybe their boat isn't large enough. Maybe they don't want to go through the hassle of doing so. So consequently, our tourism up there, let's just say that it's 10 to 15% of what it normally is. So they're really struggling up there. And we just talked about some of the different issues with that going on. I've been working diligently trying to get support from different stakeholders who may be able to make some kind of changes with this. And, it's pretty hard. You got business owners up there that their hands are tied. They're paying taxes. They're doing everything they need to be doing, but they can't operate their business for all practical purposes. And it makes it very, very difficult. I mean, it's hard enough to run a resort with things being normal, let alone putting this kind of situation into place. So, we're fighting hard for our Northwest Angle resorts. I would just say for folks, if you have the right boat, if you're willing to jump onto a transport charter boat, costs a little extra money to get up there, but boy, I tell you, any kind of support those Northwest Angle resorts could get right now would be very helpful. Oof.
So can you jump on a transport boat and then rent boats when you get up to the angle up there, or of course go out with a guided service, I suppose?
Well, absolutely. And that's what people do. So they do a couple different ways. Number one, you can jump on a transport service. You jump on a big charter boat, put all your gear on there, you and your crew. They'll take you right to the Northwest Angle resort you're staying at, and life is good. Then when you're up there, either you can rent boats or jump in with a Northwest Angle guide, and they're gonna take you on an adventure that you're gonna appreciate and learn from. The other thing people have been doing is, jumping in a transport boat and then using their boat to trail behind that transport boat. The big boat will knock down the waves if it's a rough day, and you don't have to worry about navigation. Just follow that boat right up to your resort. So, of course, there are some people, Brett, that if they have big enough boats, 20-foot boats or whatever, and they have the experience of big water, they certainly are capable of going across that lake on their own. Normally when most people do that, they try to do that in the mornings when the seas are the most calm. But, obviously, like anything else, it's safety first.
You need a fly-out service up there again, Joe. Fly up to the angle.
The challenge with the flyout service is that they used to be much more prevalent, the seaplanes.
Yeah.
But I think what happened is because of a liability insurance on those seaplane operations getting to be so high that we've seen a lot of them disappear. And that's one of the challenges. However, there are some around. I know there's one in Duluth. There's some other places. And if people want to jump on a plane and shoot up to the Northwest Angle that way, we do have some people doing it that way. That's a quick way to get up there.
Yeah.
Well, you can land right up, in that water up there and just taxi right to the dock of your resort. It happens all the time.
So here's a question. In the last couple of years, regulations have been changing about fishing even on the Rainy River, on the Canadian side on the Rainy River. And obviously some of those angle resorts, they'll guide up into Canadian waters. What's the status of that right now?
So right now, that rule that both the U.S. and Canada have, where if you're just boating and you're not going to be touching land or touching a dock or exchanging goods or services, can you go into each other's waters? And of course, that rule is still in place. However, because of the border closure rule trumps overseas the ability to go back and forth into each other's waters. So if I'm on the water right now, technically I cannot go into Canada waters to fish. Because of the border closure. When it says border closure, that means water and land.
Well, fortunately, fish don't recognize international borders, so you can catch them on the American side all day long without any issues. Gosh, obviously, you don't want to make light of COVID, but man, this whole border closure situation is just devastating for a lot of businesses. So hopefully things turn around one way or another, financially at least for some of these guys. But in the meantime, if somebody wants to come up and help support these businesses and catch a bunch of walleyes and a chance at a big one, where should they go to find out more about booking a trip to Lake of the Woods, Joe?
Yeah, really, we have a very robust website. And, if you want to check it out, just Google Lake of the Woods Tourism. Otherwise, it is lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
This has been the Finding Fins Fishing Podcast, part of the Sporting Journal Radio family. Subscribe wherever you get podcasts or go to findingfins.com and make sure to like our sponsors. Now is the time to start thinking about chasing big walleyes on Devil's Lake. Get on the fish at Haybale Heights Campground and Resort. Haybale Heights makes it easy for you to make memories on legendary Devil's Lake with guided fishing and lodging packages. Or bring your own boat and rent one of their cabins on East Bay. Haybale Heights offers a private marina, fish cleaning station, and the opportunity to relax and enjoy your bucket list trip to Devil's Lake, North Dakota. To book your trip, visit haybaleheights.com. That's haybaleheights.com. Hey anglers, looking for a destination where walleyes, fresh air, and fish fries are a way of life? Look no further than the famous waters of Lake of the Woods. From Badette and the Rainy River to the main lake up to the Northwest Angle. Here you'll enjoy the best walleye catch rate in the state. Maybe you'll pursue world-class sturgeon, pike, or muskies. Plus you'll find lots of full-service resorts offering charter boats, delicious meals, and lots of Minnesota nice. Come experience the walleye capital of the world. Come experience Lake of the Woods. Catch the details at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. If trophy lake trout and monster northern pike are on your list this summer, book a trip to Tazen Lake Lodge in northwestern Saskatchewan.
Everything from numbers to big fish.
See pictures, videos, and more at TazenLake.com.
This is quite the fishery.
Our 5-star chef will feed you well after a day of chasing giants on Tazen Lake.
Dream come true.
Get rates, dates, and more of what you can expect.
It could be the best fishing you've ever had in your life.
At TazenLake.com. That's TazenLake.com. Tazen Lake Lodge is a proud partner of Tourism Saskatchewan.